Welcome to Living with Purpose. I'm in a very special location today with a very special guest. I'm at the Starbucks headquarters. I've been coming to the Starbucks headquarters for many, many years, but I am with Vida Killian, who is the head of Starbucks Alumni Community and Starbucks Community Engagement. She introduced me to the 8th floor of Starbucks and the 9th floor of Starbucks, which I have never visited. It's this absolutely gorgeous place. But we're not here to talk about the Starbucks company and the environment, which you will hear a little bit about, but we are here to talk about the work and life that Vida has led. Vida is not only in the coffee and community impact space, but she is a fellow alum from MIT, a technologist having spent time in the technology sector before moving into the social impact space. So, Vida, please welcome to Living with Purpose.
Thank you so much, Akhtar. I'm thrilled to have you here and to host you so we can share a beverage and have a conversation.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about, I was introduced to you very recently. I went and looked at the work that you've done. And it's always very fascinating as to how people career trajectory changes. And here you are from Texas University in technology, chemical engineering, and then to MIT, both a master's and a business degree from MIT, which is like, wow. And then you go through this whole arc. To share with us this arc of yours.
Oh, happy to. I have to make one correction. I went to Texas A&M.
A&M in Austin?
My friends would definitely note that rival school. But yeah, grew up in Texas, on the coast of Texas, where all the big chemical companies are. So my dad was at Dow Chemical, and I'm, not to go all the way back, but the youngest of 4 kids that all went into math and science. So it was like, this is what you do. You're good at it. Saw it my whole life, and chemical engineering, let's go. So that's how it all started. And obviously, life and journey and doors opening and opportunities continue to evolve. And I think so much of your journey and coming back to purpose, you see it happen when you look back. And so I feel so much of my journey from that chemical engineer making sandpaper to leading impact journey has been very opportunistic and not as intentional as I wish I could say it was, but very grateful for every step.
So that sandpaper that you talked about was at 3M.
That was at 3M.
Which is where you did your first introduction to the working world.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about that whole experience, right? That here you are as an engineer, you're working at 3M, then you decide to go to MIT. Why was that important to you? And then why getting a business degree became important to you?
Sure. I mean, those first, I think I was in the workforce about 5 years before I went back to school. What a thrill to be a young engineer. 3M was an amazing place. They sent you to all sorts of places. So I got to go to Minnesota and Wisconsin and Brazil and Texas and show up as a young buck engineer trying to figure out how to help improve operations and projects. And you learn so much so quickly in those young and early career days about people, how to influence, how to work together, while you're doing problem solving and complex problems and fixing and improving the things, whatever the things are. After about 5 years of that, I had moved to Dell, so I started doing engineering at Dell, and about 2 years in, I was like, it's time, I need something different. And I was kind of getting away from the hardcore engineering and thinking business is the way to go. And so MIT has this amazing program. It's called Leaders for Global Operations, and you can do an engineering degree and a business degree at the same time. And Dell is one of many companies that sponsor students. And so I was able to apply and get that sponsorship for 2 years to step away from work and go just focus on studying, focus on myself, and start to think about how my career could evolve. Primarily in business was my interest. And I was kind of far from chemical engineering at this point. I was at a computer company, well known for supply chain. So I decided to focus on logistics and supply chain while there as well.
And how did you get to Starbucks?
So I returned to Dell, and I got to do a lot of things upon my return. But where I ended my time at Dell was actually at the beginning of the digital online connection, if you will, and was fortunate enough to work at Dell through a place of how we were bringing customers together to get their feedback. And it was called Idea Storm. It was crowdsourcing. It was early days, and looking at communities and how we build communities. And at that point in my life, personally, ready to move on, I was looking for three things. I was looking for a company that was doing the work I was doing, but leading edge. I didn't want to teach it to someone else. I wanted to figure out what the next thing was. And at the time, I was actually in conversations with Starbucks, who was doing the same thing we were doing. I was ready to move to the Pacific Northwest, was calling my name. And the third is I wanted a different company. I wasn't looking at the widgets and the technology weren't driving me, but a heart and soul was. And check. Starbucks hit all the boxes, and I made the move.
You know, it's also fascinating, at least for our listeners. Most companies have a mission and vision statement. Majority of the companies don't have a purpose statement. Starbucks is actually one of those companies that has a purpose statement. And it's in your conference rooms. In many of the conference rooms, the purpose statement is actually in bold, so that it is a company that is driven by purpose. And it was started as a way to actually ignite purpose through coffee.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your purpose journey. Why is purpose so important for you?
Oh, I love that so much. I do think the purpose comes together. For me, it's really come into focus over the last 10 years. I've been here about 14 years. And that connection, I've always felt this joy with human connection. I love listening to people. I love connecting people. I love finding ways for people to be their best selves. And that's just a personal thing. I've always built networks everywhere I go. And in work and all these experiences I've had, it was about problem solving, creating new things, innovating. What's the next thing? And when I came to Starbucks, it really came together around connecting people through the online space and creating new experiences. And I started to just feel this passion and this real opportunity to give back through my purpose of connecting people and creating new experiences. And it just evolved and came together for me in that time.
Oh, you used this word joy.
Yeah.
You didn't use happiness.
No, I don't. Mm-mm.
So talk a little bit about why did you decide to use joy along with purpose?
Joy to me, so I've taken courses around purpose, like finding your purpose. It definitely is something that's drawn me to it. And I think for some people, the heart of their purpose is that core feeling. And that feeling could be peace, it could be love, it could be fulfillment. For me, it's joy. Yeah. Joy is a deeper core feeling than happiness is a state brings us a smile, but joy is more important to me.
That's such a fascinating to think about the difference between happiness and joy. Mm-hmm. And several of our guests have actually talked about joy, so which is why when you use the word joy, my ears perked up. Mm-hmm. So talking about purpose, talk a little bit about how you are showing up with purpose.
Great. Well, I'll talk about work right now. So a few things I've had the opportunity to do. The first was building an employee community. So we call our employees partners. And the ability to bridge partners through digital media, through online, and create a community has been really impactful. And to see someone that lives in Texas connect that with someone that lives in Washington over the same job and the same experience and support each other is pretty powerful. And then we've also, by doing that, I've seen that what happens on the other side is when they meet in person, there's just this deep connection.
Yeah.
So this connecting of people in this new way is really powerful. And so what I do now, as you mentioned, leading the Starbucks Alumni Community is super fascinating. So I feel like this is where it's coming together because alumni communities for companies are new. Not many people are doing them. Microsoft being the OG, they've done it for 20 years. We've done it for 3, but it's not common.
Yeah.
It's not a common practice that companies say, hello, thank you for coming to work. We're excited you're here. And when it's time to move on, we are here with you as well. And I find that ability to keep that connection going between people and offering a space when the connection is work is just, it's a new problem, it's a new opportunity, and it's exciting to work on.
Yeah. For me, Starbucks has always been this place for forming connections.
Yes.
There is this space in a Turkish home, which is the central space in the house, which is called the sofa, which is the Turkish word for the living room. Mm-hmm. Now, Starbucks has always treated its space as the third space. Mm-hmm. Like, this is where you come. It is your living room. It is your sofa. Mm-hmm. And sofa is a place where you actually create connections and warm connections because you've actually gone into someone's house. So this notion of purpose and connections are so deep. And I'm glad that you actually mentioned it in terms of how you want to continue to keep these connections growing. Because this is, to me, the central thing as to why we actually take a drink, which is coffee, because it actually allows us to form those deep connections. So thank you for actually bringing that out. Let's just talk a little bit about how do you use purpose, especially when the times get tough?
That's such a great question. And I think of it in a couple of ways, right? In how I make decisions, obviously, and where you spend your time and energy. And so, when you're challenged at work and things aren't happening at the right time, the right space, you have to come back to why are you working on this and how it aligns for you. I think of times of uncertainty is really when it comes clear, right? Of the purpose is what's going to help clear the path for you. My example on that would be, as I said, I love my job. I feel like I have, won the lottery that I get to work at this company and in this space and in connecting people in a way that goes above and beyond our human connection that we deliver every day. And I'll tell a little story. So a few years ago, I took my sabbatical. We call it a career coffee break here,
yes,
which is very clever and a great benefit. So I was able to step away for 6 months, full intention of coming back, which I did. Just I needed the space in my life, and I was uncertain about what else. I was seeking something that I couldn't quite put my finger on, and I spent some of that time kind of digging deep and thinking about purpose, and I really came back to this listening and human connection and what did I want to do with that above and beyond what I was able to do at work, which is more at scale, right? Connecting people at scale is what we're able to do at a company of this size. And what resonated with me was really getting into that listening, getting into that space with people to go even deeper. And that was the connection piece that I think was missing for me. So I took the time, I took the space, I took a course, and I became a certified coach. So now I have a coaching business that I'm starting to explore and have the more intimate connections with people so that I could help figure out what theirs is. What is it? Is it joy they're seeking? Is it fulfillment? And what insights do they need to live that for themselves?
Yeah, and I did see that you are now a certified coach, and which is actually another additional layer of this experience that you are actually bringing to people. So let's end the conversation by you sharing your golden nugget, a piece of wisdom that you would like the listeners to take.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think the nugget that aligns with this conversation is one, I'll give the credit where credit is due. Took a course here at Starbucks. The instructor, Aiton Sharir, was helping us really dig deep on the purpose. And there's a decision model he uses. It's called the ACE model. I don't know if you've heard of it, but ACE stands for accept, change, exit. And as you're going through life and making decisions and you're in the flow and you're accepting everything, life is great. Then you hit a disruption. It could be external, it could be internal. You have some change that you're now managing yourself through, influencing others, yourself, whatever it may be. At some point through that change, you have to ask yourself, do I accept it? Whatever the outcome is, wherever you've gotten, or is it time to exit? And if you use that model, the more in tune you are with your purpose, with your values, the easier it is to work through that change. And so asking yourself, accept, change, exit. What am I supposed to do right now? And really aligning that to your purpose.
So, I love this whole ACE analogy of accepting, changing, exiting. And that to me is so important when you actually have a deep-seated purpose and you understand your strengths and your values and you're able to bring that to everything that you do, not just at work.
Right.
Then your ability to accept, to change, and to exit in whichever direction you want becomes less complicated.
Exactly.
Of course it is complicated, but it becomes less complicated since you are also driven by purpose. So, Vida, thank you so much for being with us. Again, remember, purpose is this renewable source of energy that drives humanity forward. Keep using your purpose. Until next time, thank you all very much.
Thanks, Akhtar.
Thank you.